Hi, my name is Jorge and I'm going to talk about my journey with open source, more specifically with AsyncAPI. I'm currently working as a software developer at the Agile Monkeys. I'm also a technical steering committee member of AsyncAPI. I have contributed to the CLI project of AsyncAPI. You can find me on GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also I have a personal blog in which I write about things that I learn. You're probably wondering why this talk has the word lazy in it and why being lazy became my contribution. It's not about me being lazy, it's more about how I manage to make things easier for me while working with AsyncAPI. And I'm going to tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there was a developer trying to modify an AsyncAPI specification YAML file. In order to perform his task, first of all, he needed to modify the wonderful, more than 1,000 lines long specification file. Then he proceeded to copy and paste that file on the AsyncAPI playground in order to validate it. This task got repetitive pretty fast, and this playground didn't show the location of the errors of the developer made, and he had to guess where those errors could potentially be every time. At some point, he realized that this task could be improved. You must have probably noticed already that the developer of the story was me. The problems I faced were the following. One of them was that AsyncAPI Playground, now replaced by Studio, wasn't showing the errors location. The other one was that the validation process got tedious because you need to repeatedly figure out where the errors are. What do we always do when a task is repetitive? So automation is the solution. And as a software developers, we can code a tool to automate this process. I've worked with Node.js, so I know that there is a tool called Nodemon that watches all the changes made to a project and reruns it locally when this happens. So my approach was to build a tool that does exactly the same for our specification files validation process. For this, I also used a package that had already been built by AsyncAPI's community called AsyncAPI Parser. At this point, I had already built a tool to simplify the validations, but I noticed that AsyncAPI Studio was also using the same parser that I use. So why aren't they being able to display the errors just like me? We are both using the same parser, but the studio isn't displaying the errors to the user. I was curious about this, and I decided to take a look at their code and see what's going on. What I found was that at some point the parser was updated and changed the way the errors are thrown, but the studio didn't adapt its code to handle them. So I fixed it, and that's my first open source contribution. Then I decided to contact the community through Slack and show them the CLI I had built in order to see if they were interested in adding it to their project. I noticed that the CLI was already in their roadmap, so after seeing what I have done so far, they suggested that I contribute to the internal CLI from scratch. Their plan was to implement it using Ink. For those who don't know, Ink is a library to build CLIs using React components. Given their suggestions, I started working on the first feature. That was the one I'd already done, but with a new structure in order to integrate Ink with the project. But a few months ago, Fran Mendes was playing with Oclif, and he suggested switching from Ink to Oclif due to its benefits, and we are currently working with it. So I encourage you to contribute to the project at easier right now, and we have tasks to work on. Feel free to reach out to me if you want more information, if you are or if you are willing to contribute. Thank you for your time, and go contribute.